Hey everybody, this is going to be a review of the Transformer movies. I'm sorry if they seem a bit incoherent, but it's a long time since I've done a video, so here goes. We'll start with the first one, the live action movie, the first Transformers. Not in generally a bad film. The only gripe that I've got with it is that it didn't encapture the beginnings of the cartoon. Because in the cartoon we had it began well it just began on Cybertron. It told you how the Autobots and the Decepticons first started fighting each other and stuff like that. Whereas the movie didn't. It just went straight into it, and we had a voiceover from Optimus Prime telling us about the Civil War on Cybertron. And to me, the film should have started on Cybertron, as did the cartoon. It should have started with them taking off in the ships, the Ark, and the Decepticons following them, and then the fight that ensued after that, and how they crashed on Earth. And to me, them coming down like big giant golf balls, it just didn't do it for me. You get what I'm saying? It's like Spider-Man. Spider-Man can only start one way. It can only start the origin of Spider-Man is that he gets bitten by a spider and he turns into Spider-Man. It's the same with Transformers. It starts on Cybertron and then it goes to Earth. Because then you're actually telling a story, which is something that Michael Bay doesn't do. And I'm going to have a gripe about Michael Bay as well. He gets a lot of stick, Michael Bay does. But let's not forget that Steven Spielberg had a hand in the Transformers 2. And it was actually him that decided to change the look of the Transformers. Now, this necessarily isn't a bad thing, because there was no way that these Transformers were going to look like they did in the cartoon. That was just not going to happen, because let's face it, it would have looked stupid. But why in the hell did he give some of the Transformers wheels for feet? Like they had roller skates on. That was just another gripe. It just looked shit. And, just give them proper feet. All in all, the first movie, not bad. Pretty good benchmark. It could have been improved upon. And that's what we were waiting for in Revenge of the Fallen. I'm going to get to that one now. Revenge of the Fallen. What can I say about that? It just fell flat on its face. It really did, story-wise. And this is a trend that has gone through all these Transformer movies. It just felt to me like the Transformers were just there as some sort of special effect, just to distract us from the story that was going on with the humans. And it shouldn't have been like that. The title of the movie was Transformers. That's what it should have been about, the Transformers. The humans were caught in the middle of an epic civil war between two robotic civilizations, Decepticons and Autobots. And that's how it should have been portrayed in the film. The humans just caught in the middle. The story should have been about the Autobots and the Decepticons fighting each other for supremacy. That's what it was about. That's what the cartoon was about. That's what the movies should have been about. Quite frankly, I didn't give a shit about some kid and a progressive love story that went through all three films. I didn't give a shit about Sam Witwicky at all. I really didn't. I think it just distracted from the overall thing of the film. My gripe in Revenge of the Fallen was Devastator. Holy shit. Was that a complete and utter fuck up? Or what? It just was. I remember from the cartoons when I was a kid, Devastator was a pretty kick-ass robot. He was. And yet here we have him crawling around on a pyramid, and he takes 2 shots from a railgun on a human battleship, and it just takes him down. I was just so disappointed with that. I was expecting this, this really hard robot, and yet we can kill him. What was the point in having the Autobots on Earth if we could just take down the Decepticons ourselves? Because really, they didn't play a big role in killing any of the Decepticons. Really, it was all the humans fighting and dropping bombs on them from planes and stuff like that. You never really saw. Well, you did in some. You saw Bumblebee, ripping the heads off and stuff like that. But we didn't really need the Autobots. We could have taken on the Decepticons by ourselves, which is just bullshit because these are supposed to be cybernetic robots that are more advanced than us. And it was just that was just bullshit. I mean, what happened to the laser cannons and all that kind of thing that was in the cartoons? It was just they had machine guns like we did. They had bullets and stuff like that. Another gripe from the first movie. Okay, Michael Bay said that it would have been unrealistic to have Megatron turn into a gun. But then in the same movie, we have a big giant cube called the Allspark transform from a cube the size of a fucking room, massive warehouse based room, to a cube about this big. Why couldn't have Megatron done that? Just another point there. Revenge of the Fallen, other flaws. Yeah, the two twins, they kind of reminded me of the two characters out of Bad Boys, played by Will Smith, and I don't know who the other guy was. They kind of reminded me of those two, guys playing off each other. It's just that just came through as well. They weren't necessarily annoying. It was just, I don't know, I didn't find them irritating. I didn't find them Jar Jar Binks irritating or anything like that. I think, they were stereotyped. They were clearly, black people, ethnics. Well, other than that, I think they added a bit of comic relief and they were irrelevant, really. As for the Autobots and Decepticons, absolutely no character development whatsoever. The whole story was centered around Sam Witwicky and, his coming-of-age story from a boy to a man sort of thing. And it shouldn't have been about that, Like I've said before, it was about fucking robots knocking the shit out of each other. Alright, not some snotty little kid and how he's falling in love with a girl. It's just bullshit. It was just bullshit. The whole story was just all over the place. There was no linear story all the way through it, a follow-on story sort of thing. Right, to Dark of the Moon. Now, in Dark of the Moon, we saw 3 characters just completely disappear without any mention or anything. We had the 2 twins, they weren't in it, and we also had Jolt. Where the hell was Jolt in Dark of the Moon? None of this was explained where any of the characters had gone or anything like that. There was no storytelling hardly whatsoever. It was just from one action scene to another, and it was just the Sam Witwicky love story, and that's all we got. We got none of the backstory of Sentinel Prime and Optimus Prime, really, just little snippets. It really should have been about their characters. It should have been about the relationship between Optimus Prime, Megatron, Sentinel Prime, and all the other, Transformers in this film. Shockwave was crap. Really crap. It was just as bad as Devastator. And yet again, it was the humans with machine guns that were taking him down. And he was finished off. Then Optimus Prime came along and stuffed his fist through him and just ripped his heart out, sort of thing. And Optimus Prime with that fucking flying jetpack. He's as clumsy as fuck with it. It flies into a crane and gets caught up in all the entanglements, and it's the wreckers that have to go and rescue him. What a crock of shit that was. I'm sorry, but it just was. I'm just so disappointed with what Michael Bay has actually done with these 3 films, because this franchise deserved a lot better than it got. It had so much potential, but I don't think he reached it. He didn't at all. He just, well, you gotta think this is a guy that took one of the most devastating events of World War II and how America came into World War II, Pearl Harbor, and turned that into a fucking love story too. So, you know, it kind of told me what I was going to expect from him anyway. But yeah, don't get me wrong, the movies stand alone on their own. They are good to watch for action movies. But if you're going into it and want a good story, a linear story that goes all the way through, and you know you get character development, you may as well forget it. You know, it's just not going to happen. I really hope that some other director picks this up in a few years' time, say J.J. Abrams or James Cameron, and they take it back to the beginning and they tell the story how it should have been told in the first place. Because we got, you know, why the hell was the Ark crashing on the moon anyway? Optimus Prime was supposed to be on board the Ark with the rest of the Autobots in the beginning film, right? That's where they should have been. They should have been fighting the Decepticons and crashed on Earth because that's how they got here in the cartoon. You know, he just took a concept of Transformers and just completely bastardized it all into a complete mishmash that didn't make any sense whatsoever at all. And like I've been reading the comments, Ray Love Mess, you know, it's like Sentinel Prime. We didn't see him transform into that fire truck in the first place. All we saw was Optimus Prime going through the desert with the rest of the Autobots with a fire truck. It's like, who the hell's that? You know, it's like lazy directing. You know, you're not telling the story. You're not telling us how this happened, how that happened. You know, it's just confusing when you're watching the actual films. Anyway, that's all I've got to say on those three things. If I actually think of something else, I'll probably make another video on the subject. But yeah, you know, the franchise is kind of over now. This was the last one he's doing. Thank God. You know, please don't go back to them again, Michael Bay. Leave them alone. Stick to what you do best. Stupid big fucking explosions for everything. You know, somebody touches a car and it explodes. That kind of shit. You know, stick to what you're good at. You know, mindless violence. You know, and leave the storytelling to decent directors in future. This is the Sci-Fi Guy 100 signing off. Should be coming back with another video soon.